We stopped selling lottery tickets. I never seen him. Hey, Nancy. How you doing, dear?
Oh, good. This is my mom, Tom. Mary Lou Critz, Tom Harper.
Yes, we are. I will compare.
Kimmy, this is my mom. I know you probably met her before. Mary Lou. This is my husband, Les Bolden. This is my mom. And this is Greg King. Oh my gosh. Bruce does this our
You know what? When I was there, I took care of it. I took these guys.
Yeah, not too often.
No, he's taking his girls skiing. And he has to be here. Like, like 5 times a year, like 5 meetings.
I would have come. It's only 5 minutes from here. Until he started, he couldn't make it.
Oh, he's
How are you?
yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, get out of here. I can't go back that moment. Come back there. I like that. This is my mother, Mary Lou. Mike Dietz, he's our union president, but I also consider him a friend. This is my husband, Les Bolden. His wife and
Hanging in there.
she doesn't have earrings on, just discovered that one.
Yeah, I'll make them. Yeah, it's not, I don't care what I look like. I just feel
If I'd have known you were here, I could have brought Winchester. Once you see this Winchester. You have to see them in person. Okay, well, that's all right. How long do you have?
Yeah. This was long. Well, some of our friends, we had hit. We're supposed to go to Fontana, and they're closed today. People walked on my life. Yeah. And that told me. And I'm like, well, then I
They didn't come through with their permit.
they're closed pretty much because they were doing the paperwork.
Oh.
Yeah, they just did paperwork last, and that, they got it on there. So we, and it's funny because some of the one, Rick, graduated with me. This will be her first. Nobody drinks here.
That's not a bad thing.
We're So I have a seat.
Hi. Good, how are you?
To the right, it'll put you off.
One of those things.
Oh, I didn't. You know, her hair. What was it?
I don't know what it was. It just keeps working.
Hey, how are ya? Good to see ya. I have them all. It's on our desk. Yeah, it's.
Coming up pretty soon.
Are you 60? You still act like that?
Yeah, well, no, you act here, we're act like I'm 13.
Yeah. I'd like to call the Township of North Huntington Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Roll call, Manager Falk.
Commissioner Stump,
Here?
Commissioner Atwood,
Here.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Zona,
Here.
Commissioner Wingren,
Here.
Commissioner Goss,
Here.
President Hagus.
Here. Can everyone please stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and opening prayer by Pastor Cole from Calvary Church? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, we thank you so much for another day to be alive. God, I thank you for breath into all of our lungs.
God, I thank you for this opportunity to gather collectively tonight. God, I just pray for all of the men and women seated in front of me. God, I just pray for wisdom to come upon them. God, as they talk and make decisions about North Huntington Township. God, I just pray that they lead this community and lead the individuals well. God, we thank you for just the gifts and the talents and the abilities that they possess. God, I thank you for the first responders and the frontline workers of this community, God, that keep all of us safe. God, I ask that you keep them safe as they also keep us safe. God, as discussions take place tonight, God, if there are difficult discussions or difficult topics, God, I just pray that grace is evident tonight, God, that people can speak their minds and their hearts, God, but also be received with grace and to be received with empathy. God, we just thank you for your goodness, we thank you for your ableness, and you thank you for your faithfulness. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to citizens input, we want to recognize one of our employees that's retiring, Nancy Bolden. I just want to, on behalf of the township, present you with this plaque for your 21 years of dedicated service to the township. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. No, John did it from home. He's sick. So.
And we have one more thing before we get to citizens input tonight. Manager Falk, 2023 comprehensive plan update.
Yes, I have Carolyn Nagel here from Environmental Planning Design that is doing the comprehensive plan. Provide the board with a quick update.
Thank you very much for the time this evening, because I have had the opportunity to be here in this room last Monday with Planning Commission, this Monday with the Project Steering Committee, this evening with you, and then on Saturday, we are conducting the open house series, one at 10 o'clock, one at 1 o'clock, and one at 3 o'clock, so that we can put forward some information that the Steering Committee has been thinking about, the Planning Commission has been thinking about. I believe you all have had an opportunity to coordinate a bit with Manager Falk, and so that we can think about, as we've heard from almost 1,000 people in the last 6 months, in terms of things that they seek to have outlook, right, for the next 10 years. The steering committee that has been part of this project has brought some very important topics to the table for us to consider and balance out with the technical analysis that we have been completing. And as part of that, we are at a stage where there are a series of recommendations really organized as sort of some rules of thumb and guiding the opportunities over the next decade as it may relate to exactly as your slogan behind you all and in front of all of us, that word connected. I think one of the discussions that we had most recently this month is that almost every item within this realm of the comprehensive plan is leading back to that word. So whether it is connection through communication, connection in some sort of physical way for mobility or from one place to another, the connection that is upon us to look at what the policies are within the township's ordinances to applications that come in the door and those kinds of processes. So this word that you have on your emblems and all of that is really something I think that has been a keystone of this last several months. So I do know you have quite a full agenda, but if there are any items following up with being able to coordinate on the upcoming open house that you would seek to have us address, I would appreciate if we could do that. And Harry and I would be able to coordinate that with you. But foremost, if there are people with whom you're speaking and you would like to encourage them to come to Saturday, because public meeting notices have been put both in the paper, they have been put out through your social media efforts, and there has been quite a level of engagement, right, that's been growing. And we look forward to hearing from everyone to see if the recommendations about these kinds of connections are on the right track. And in doing so, we will then be putting forward an overall document for you to consider, both one that will be accessible online and in print form ultimately, but that's one that then we will be able to keep moving forward with you. So, any other questions that you may have? And thank you for the comments that we've received most recently. We've been able to do some fine tuning to our thoughts.
Board have any
Anything, Ren?
follow-up questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If any residents would like to speak tonight, could you please sign the book at the podium? Thank you. Our first resident is John Batis. If you could just come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Raise my right hand too.
No, that's not necessary.
Hello, my name is John Batis, resident on McKee Road, 11957 McKee Road. I've been a resident of North Huntington for 12 years now, very happy resident. I would like to first thank you all for doing such a great job with Lions Park, whoever was part of that process of evolving and sprucing up the park. Director Miller, I don't know if you were integral in that, but I think I would like to personally thank you. It's awesome. The volume of people has increased, the kids, the family that go to that park. It's amazing. The unfortunate side, though, that I have to raise and the problem that I have and the concern I have for the fellow residents that live around me is the intersection crossing from MacArthur over McKee Road to the park. When I see families and kids and parents and mothers with strollers racing across the street to get across, it's a problem. I have an 8-year-old myself, and I see families racing across the street because people do not follow these street signs. Chief Rizzo, I would like to personally thank you also too. I've seen the police presence way higher over the past months, weeks, half a year, and I appreciate that. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, McKee Expressway is what it is. I've been living there for 12 years. I look out my bay window and I see it. But my request, and I ask all of you, is for a stop sign at the corner of McKee and MacArthur to make that a 4-way. If we can slow these cars down to allow families and kids to cross to go to that beautiful park, I would appreciate it personally. I know my neighbors would too. That's why I'm here today, is for the safety concern. The life of a kid or a person is worth the price for us 2 stop signs. So that's what my ask is. I'm not sure how the formal process goes, but I'd figure I'd come here and talk to you guys and share my point of view and see if I could ask for your consideration. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next resident is Kathy Stewart. If you can, come up, just name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Stewart. I live at 11471 McKee Road in North Huntington. First of all, I will agree with that gentleman. I live right down the street from him, and it is a freeway, McKee Road, so I hear it from my bedroom window. Sounds like a little Honda Civic just flies up and down every day. But I would like to propose reconsideration of the banning of dog walking at Indian Lake Park from March 1st through November 1st. The township's website recognizes pets as legitimate park users. However, it bans them at Indian Lake for 8 months out of the year. A few facts about pets. Approximately 85 million families are pet owners. 2 million dogs were adopted in 2022. Dog owners walk significantly more than people who don't own a dog. Just being around a dog can lower your levels of cortisol, the human stress hormone. Walking your dog can also improve cardiovascular fitness, lower blood pressure, and build stronger muscles and bones. A few facts about obesity in America. The U.S. obesity prevalence went from 30.5% in 2017 to 41.9% in 2020. It's definitely on the rise. Obesity-related conditions, including heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancers. These are among the leading causes of preventable premature death. In 2012, when this ordinance was enacted, there may have been an isolated incident, isolated dog, or irresponsible human, which caused this ban to occur. My husband and I walked our dog at Indian Lake all winter. Thankfully, it's been very mild, along with an unaccountable number of other responsible dog owners. We've never encountered an unruly pet. Not every pet is as well behaved as mine, but I've almost been run over by some unruly kids. Should we ban them too? I would move my walk to a less appealing Lions Park, but it has been partially underwater since I moved into the township in 2021. Today's world is a stressful one, where a good percentage of people are on antidepressant drugs. Let's give everyone the opportunity to enjoy God's natural beauty while naturally de-stressing all year round. Thank you.
Thanks. And our last resident tonight is Joanna Stewart. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name's Joanna Stewart. I live at 11480 Dennis Circle. I am also here to talk about the banning of dogs November 1st through March 1st at Indian Lake. As you can see by my attire, I'm a nurse. I work long hours, and on my days off, I like to take my Great Dane, who has hip dysplasia, on long walks. That's the best thing for him, is a flat walk. My neighborhood does not allow that. Number one, it has hills. Number two, many residents, as probably anywhere, don't always abide by the speed limit, causing a danger and threat to me and my dog. I've spent a lot of time and money training my dog so that he is well behaved around people, children, and other animals. And so if I'm gonna pack up my dog to go for a walk somewhere that's healthy for him and I, and safe, I'd like to be able to go to the park of my choice. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other residents that didn't have a chance to sign up tonight would like to speak? If you can, sir, just come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Tim Schweitzer. I'm also a resident, 11937 McKee Road. I just want to come up and support the rest of my neighbors and just echo what John Bates had mentioned about just the safety hazard that is on McKee Road. I also have two young daughters. There's a lot of neighbors. Every neighborhood kind of goes through a cycle of young children. It seems like we're entering in that cycle again of having a lot of young children in the neighborhood, especially on bicycles. So as the children come from all the way down McKee Road, it is a very big hazard. I think with the anticipation that folks may have to stop at that stop sign, it won't be like everyone had mentioned, the expressway, and everyone kind of slingshotting down the road from Clay Pike towards Robbins Station. So once again, I would just ask for the commission just to take into consideration adding two-way stop signs on the corner of MacArthur and McKee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
sir. Is there any other residents that would like to speak tonight? All right. Not seeing any response to citizens' input. I believe we had two issues, McKee Road intersection by the park and dogs in the park. Dogs in the park, I think we spoke briefly about last meeting. Director Miller, did you have a chance to maybe, I know we did that some years ago, that would alleviate some of the pressure on the parks with dogs, and we allow them in the wintertime, but I think we were maybe exploring the idea, maybe having them at like off-peak times, possibility, maybe if you have any opinion on that.
Yeah, first off, let me preface my comments by deflecting to the pastor's comments about having a discussion filled with grace and dignity. So my comments are not my opinion. They're a professional experience comments that I'll provide you, and I'll let you all make the decision. But for a point of clarification, the ordinance for dogs in the park, let me back up to just to park ordinances. In 1998, 25 years ago, there was an ordinance established for park rules and regulations that enacted, obviously, what was prohibited and not prohibited. And that ordinance actually was signed by a former commissioner who's here tonight, Mr. Tom Kerber was here. And when that ordinance was established in 98, there were no dogs permitted at any township parks, 25 years ago. Fast forward to 2004, 6 years later, the ordinance of 98 that did not permit or prohibit dogs from any township park was amended to allow dogs at township parks with the exception of Indian Lake Park. So the pattern still continued that dogs were never permitted at Indian Lake Park. Fast forward to 2011, and I started here in 2009, and we had a very bad geese issue at Indian Lake. And in 2011, it was at my recommendation that we do permit dogs at Indian Lake and lift the ban from no longer having dogs at Indian Lake, but actually to have them there. But to do so during a period of time that would help us deter the goose population, because those birds fly in, they migrate, and they fly in during the winter months. So when they do come in and land on the water, which is their safe zone, in working with our goose management control company and all the practices that we had put in place, and some of you were on the board when we had goose hunts, if you go back to those days. So what we decided to do was permit dogs to come to Indian Lake that would help us deter our goose population from November to February, and then still keeping the ordinance, I wouldn't call it a ban, an ordinance in place for no longer having dogs during those months. And then what had occurred to just kind of enhance that ordinance was in 2012, we built a pavilion at Indian Lake for picnics. And we are booked solid with picnic pavilion reservations at Indian Lake. And then we also added a playground there. So there seems to be a lot more activity at Indian Lake in the spring and summer months, which, again, just kind of enforces or keeps up with the current ordinance that's in place now. I did watch last week's meeting. Unfortunately, I couldn't be here. I heard that you had offered, Zach, about a period of time, maybe mornings and in evenings. I will tell you, the two busiest times at the park are mornings and evenings. That park, unlike the other parks that do allow dogs, also has a special time that is enlisted to it. All of our parks are from 8 a.m. to dark or to dusk. That particular park, Indian Lake, is from 5:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. And the reason that that ordinance was amended under Mr. Kerber, too, as well, and his board that was here at that time as he served as the president, was that at 5:30 in the morning, there's avid fishermen over there in the spring and summer. There's people, obviously, that run and walk, and the seniors are over there. So I just wanted to provide you factual information for clarification. Again, not an opinion or a recommendation, but from professional experience, that's the history of dogs versus no dogs at Indian Lake Park.
Any other further board comments on dogs at Indian Lake Park?
Yeah, I would say I use Indian Lake. I don't use many of the other parks too much, but Indian Lake, I do run there a lot, and I've run through the winter, through the summer. I've never had a problem with dogs, never had a problem with kids. I'll tell you, the people that are most of a problem is like when there's a couple walking, because they walk in the middle of the trail and you got to run around it. But usually most dog owners that I've encountered, I've never had one issue there with a dog. And so I would actually be open to pursuing looking at the ordinance and changing something.
I'll agree with you, Ron. I think the park should be for everyone. And if somebody doesn't have control of their dog, to me, and the solicitor can correct me if I'm wrong, that's a civil responsibility. And they could be open to be sued if they don't have control of their dog. But I think the park should be for everyone.
I'd be willing to look at the ordinance again as long as, there's no safety issue with having the dogs. I don't see why we can't have it.
As a dog owner, I'm for dogs being at the park, along with everybody else, so I'm open to changing the ordinance.
I'm going to have to agree with everybody on this. I think we need to have a redress on the ordinance for the dogs at Indian Lake as well.
Well, maybe Manager Falk and Director Miller, you can maybe come up with a few ideas to present the board for our next meeting, planning meeting. We can maybe come up with something, maybe vote formally next month on something.
Sure, I certainly think whatever your pleasure is, that's what we'll do.
All right, thank you, Director Miller. And then Chief Rizzo, I believe we had a few other people talk about traffic on McKee Road.
I was going to draft when I talk about our spring season coming up on our plans, the stop sign issue, which is one we obviously hear all over the township. I would defer to Assistant Manager Turley. He has a vast expertise in the traffic enforcement, the signage, and all the lights. I know we talk often in our staff meetings, you know, you can't just throw a stop sign up, unfortunately. I wish we could, but there are guidelines that are put in place. I'll speak, and then Manager Turley can stop me if I'm incorrect, but stop signs can't be used to stop speed. That is one, I think that is a PennDOT guideline, and we can't violate a guideline. So we can certainly look at that intersection down there and go and take a look at it. We can look at it for safety enhancements. We can look at it for signage. We can even maybe look at it for crosswalks. And then if a stop sign is warranted and it can fit in, and by law, certainly we would be able to do that, but we have to follow the rules because we can't put ourselves in a position if a crash occurs. Absolutely.
If you don't mind, come on back up.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I initially started this process when I first moved in.
Okay.
You gotta come to the mic. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I initially started this process when I first moved in. I was a new resident. I didn't know, you know, I was a new homeowner too.
Right.
So I came down, talked to the officer. They told me the same thing. We had to do a, what do you call that, a test or when you survey of the speed and the, you know.
Yeah, you do like a traffic study.
Traffic study, correct. And we did that already, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
It was recently done, I want to say a year or two ago also.
We just did one last year down there, I believe.
Another one again, and that's fine, and I understand that. My focus was not the speed. I get that there are certain
Right.
barriers to be able to get that stop sign.
Right.
I'm referring the intersection going from MacArthur across the street. You guys have installed, and I saw your guys there last year putting up the yellow signs up, telling people they have to stop for pedestrians.
Okay.
I've crossed 50 times, I've had one person stop. I'm a big boy, I've walked out there and cars have stopped instead of hitting me, but I'm more concerned about the kids and the elderly neighbors that go up and down there that are retired that walk across there.
We'll certainly
So
go
I'm not-
take a look
I'm
at
not
it.
concerned about safety, that's why my comments were just basically
Yeah.
about, not speed, I'm sorry. I'm not concerned about the speed.
Safety.
Because I get it, that there are certain regs that we have to cross to get the signage.
Right.
I'm more concerned about the safety. That's my angle that I'm trying to address today.
It's a good angle and it's understood.
You know what I mean? And I know you do, and like I said, I thank you. I've seen your guys stand outside there, I've offered them coffees, bottles of water. I thank them for what they're doing.
Yeah.
The neighborhood just drives fast. I mean, they pin it from the minute they get on for observation until they get to the corner. And that's on them, you know what I mean? But if I can save a life coming across that intersection, walking across, a new mother with her stroller, God forbid she trips because the car's doing 60 miles an hour coming towards her, that's all I'm trying to say, man. That's it.
no issues.
I understand there's regs, I understand there's rules, but it's the safety aspect of it that I'm trying to focus on, not the speed.
I have a meeting tomorrow with Manager Turley in the morning. This will be one of the agenda items that we'll talk about for
I
sure.
appreciate your time, I appreciate your efforts.
You're more than welcome. Go ahead, Mike.
I would just add that what the chief is referring, we get these requests often for speed control, and it's one of the first sentences in the manual for uniform traffic control devices, should not be used for speed control. So this has just a long history in lots of communities. It's not, we get it all there, and people get upset about it too, because their concerns sometimes can be valid. But if I could just go back through, Lieutenant Mahinsky told me before my time, and I think a lot of our time here, that McKee had unwarranted stop signs on it at one time, and PennDOT come through and made the township take them all out. And probably had to do with liquid fuels funding, I don't know, but we've had stop signs that are unwarranted. It creates a lot of problems. And we also ran into some issues with removing those that are unwarranted, and it's real messy too. So the township developed a policy under John Shepard that we worked on adding and removing stop signs. Basically, we're going to get an engineer involved and do the engineer review and follow the rules. The manual for uniform traffic control devices is there so that the signage is uniform so people understand it and makes sense and we follow the rules. So speed control is not a warrant. Warrants are sight distance, accidents that relate to a stop sign, and volumes that are really, the volume numbers are really high. That's not going to meet the warrants out there. We can look at it again if you want to. we looked at the sight distance when we did the crosswalk. It's, in my view, it's not gonna meet the warrants for a stop sign. But we can look at it if you want to, have our engineer look at it again. But I think what the issue that he brought up is an interesting one, because with the improvements to the park and higher usage, there's not really a lot of parking there. So when we were making these improvements, we're gonna increase the pedestrian movements into the park. Okay, so the crosswalk was put in as an obvious way to deal with that, but what possibly, so enforcement is a police matter to enforce, right? You go out there, you could start pulling people over for not stopping, speeding, that's an enforcement matter, issue tickets. Not so much that signage, but you could look at some traffic calming measures that some design features that may help to slow people down around the area of the park too. So it's possible we could look at things aside, we can't put a stop sign in, we could possibly look at some other things to try to slow or get drivers' attention aside from the signage for the pedestrian crossing. And that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
Because I think
we did a great job at the park, now we're making more people come, and now we have to deal with the issue that we did, so.
This issue
I'm for
happens
it.
all through, a lot of places.
Yeah.
This happens lots of places, especially we have a lot of pedestrian movement. So, but I think that looking at this like that might be worthwhile to see if we can come up with something. We should do enforcement too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree
For
with that.
speeding or to get their attention, but we should look at it to see if there's a way to do either traffic calming or to try to make sure that what we're doing is the best that we can do.
For sure.
And I just want to echo your comments, Mr. Turley.
I'll let you speak one time, Mr. Bates, but it's usually not a give and take back and forth. So if you want to say one more thing real quick. No, you're fine. You can say one more thing, that's fine.
No, and I don't know if I echoed this in my opening comments initially earlier. The usage has multiplied tenfold. I mean, the Boy Scouts have done a great job building that bridge. The township's done an excellent job. The volume is exceeding it, the usage. I mean, spring is coming. They'll be parked in front of my house all the way up MacArthur for soccer events, practices, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to see them across safely. That's all.
Thank you.
I might add that we could consider a speed table there rather than a speed bump. And an example of a speed table is what you see at Westmoreland Mall by the J.C. Penney's, the back entrance to J.C. Penney's. That's like a long table that somebody has to slow down, and there is a sign there, there's a stop sign there, but if we can't place the stop sign, maybe consider something like that. Now, those do make noise, so people tend to complain because there's the thump noise that goes along with those, but maybe we could consider something like that.
We can discuss it, all the options.
It's hard to evaluate that.
Right.
It's hard to evaluate. We have a practice of not using those they create so many. But I know the city of Pittsburgh's doing this but this is, it's all sort of maintenance issue. Noise is one issue. You get lots of complaints. You have icing, if it holds water, drainage issues. They get knocked out a lot with plows. They're just a real maintenance problem. And then a lot of people they're gonna want them everywhere. And it just creates a really, not a good option. It is. Although I would say this, if there was a place you would do it, the entrance to a park or in a park is where I see them, that I think they work okay. So I'm trying to recall the speed limit out there.
25.
25, okay. So it's probably not, we have a practice of not using these for, I think, good reasons. But it could be looked at too, but it opens up, just like the stop sign matter, we try to do what we do for everyone that requests this. We have to do this throughout, so we have to develop, if we do something like this, a standard for when we would do it and when we wouldn't do it, because everybody's gonna want them. And I think Bob may have a comment, Rich may have a comment. These are not, these can't help. I see them in parks, but they can create a lot of other issues and costs, and really, there might be better ways to deal with it, so.
Can you give us an update, Chief, on
Yes.
where the use of radar with local police
I
departments?
was going to talk about that tonight
Because
whenever
that
I
could
get.
be a very big deterrent.
Yeah, it's on my notes to speak on. Yes.
If I could add something on traffic calming, PennDOT would recommend before you institute any traffic calming measures, chicanes, adding parking, speed humps, speed bumps, you need to do a traffic calming policy first, because if there's one occurs, it's not going to be the only one. So you need to establish a policy. And PennDOT really lays out standards for policy before you would consider traffic calming. So I just be cautious on that. Just don't go and install a speed hump or speed table. You need, because when you put a speed table in a speed hump, it can calm traffic, but there's other considerations. There's emergency vehicles. It slows emergency vehicles down, and you have drainage and so forth. So just need to proceed with caution there when we talk about traffic calming and the types.
I have a question for Mr. Battis. Is that a school bus stop there also at that intersection?
Yes.
Okay.
That corner, yes, all ages.
And what's, obviously, when the kids are at the bus stop, the traffic's probably heavy there in the morning?
Yes, and I've stepped out in the middle of the road to stop the cars coming from the other end, because they come over next to his house and press them over, full speed in the morning running to cross that street. Get the car off the bus where she's going, he's bound towards the schools.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I think Chief Rizzo and Assistant Manager Turley can maybe follow up with some different traffic calming measures that maybe don't involve a bump or table that we could maybe look into.
Definitely.
What about optical illusion?
You got me, Eric.
There's some countries overseas that are doing it. Okay, you guys have all seen the guys that do the chalk art, right? You guys ever seen that? I mean, it is convincing. What if we were to bring in the optical illusion of a speed hump through art? I know some people probably get wise to it, but then you're always wondering, well, did they change that overnight while I was sleeping? Did they go from artwork, optical illusion, to the actual hump? I'm telling you something, I think it might be something to look at.
Well, I can comment on
You
this.
can? Please.
Because
Yeah.
I saw this when I was in England 30 years ago, and I thought it was fabulous. The line painting on the ramps where the lines get closer together and you feel like you're going faster even when you're going slower. So we brought this back, and at McKee, actually, the intersection of McKee and where the gas station is on Clay Pike. We had to get permission, but if you think back about 8 years ago, we did this. We did an illusion there, and we had to get permission from PennDOT. You know, we floated it as kind of a demonstration project, and we'll do a pre-speed study, a post-speed study, and you'll just see, you know, we'll take it out afterwards. We'll just see what the results are. So it's the approach. There's a blind approach to McKee there, and it's a little bit hard to pull out. People speed there too. I'm sure you know where I mean. So we painted blocks that got closer together. So we narrowed the lanes down, and we did this there. And it helped slow speeds. We didn't know the long-term benefit of it, but it seemed to hold up a little bit. So we did a little study. I still have the study. We sent it off to PennDOT, and it just got a little bit lost in the bureaucracy, I think. But they seemed interested. And it was a little bit of a benefit. Maybe it wasn't. And then they chipped the road over again, and we didn't come back and put them in because it was sort of a temporary thing. So a few years ago, I was going up to Seven Springs, actually for our insurance meetings, trust meetings, and went up, and they did it. They took our study, and if you ever get off there before you turn right to go towards Seven Springs, they did the same concept that we did there. So that's not really caught on like I saw in England back 30 years ago, but the district has seen this here. We did it once. And they've used it again up by Seven Springs. That's still District 12, too. So I just wanted to say you brought that up. It was very interesting. But we did this at one time, and there's actually a standard for it. There's like a national standard. PennDOT hasn't really accepted it. They allowed us to do it on their road and to create that. And that maybe that's something that could be looked into, too.
Chief, if we decide to pull the trigger, I'll buy the first 5 gallons of paint. I will donate, man, for the sake of the safety of folks. So,
Let's just get through tomorrow's meeting.
okay.
We'll start there.
Any other board comments on citizens' input?
I have a comment. When Kathy was speaking about the dogs, she mentioned that she would take them to Lions Park, but it's partially underwater. So are we having a lot of drainage problems at Lions?
That's what it was partially designed for.
I can speak on that. We do have some damp issues there. That park is not underwater. It is not flooded. It will occasionally fill with water. It's a basin. It's in a floodplain. But we did make that a multi-purpose park several years ago. Mr. Turley was involved in that project as well with our weir. And right now, we're working with our engineer, Bob Robinson, to put a bridge in there so that people can walk there safely without any water problems. But I can honestly say, if it was as wet as people think it is, listen, in history will tell you it has been that wet, Lindsay. But we mow down there weekly.
And Director Miller, when you say that it gets wet there, that is designed that way, right? That is a water basin to alleviate the flooding downstream.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Any other response? All right, thank you. Approval of meetings minutes for the special meeting 2/9/23.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. For the regular meeting 2/15/23.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Payment of bills?
Motion to pay voucher number 20297 through voucher 20379.
Second.
Discussion?
I have one question on the motion. Manager Falk, voucher 20303 is for preventative maintenance on the HVAC equipment in the amount of a little over $5,000. I was just curious what that preventative maintenance was, because that whole system was just installed a year ago, correct?
That's correct. I have to look at the invoice to refresh, but that could probably be for the filters and
for
things like that,
okay.
yes. Yeah, we just had a meeting with the HVAC system gentleman this morning for a final punch-out. We still have a few more things that they need to fix before we make that final payment.
Okay. Yeah, if you can just find that out and let us know. Thanks.
Any other questions on the payment of bills? Have a motion, a second. All those in favor by state and aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Staff reports, Public Works report, Director Albert. Anything to add to your report tonight?
Yes, I have a few little minor items I'd like to add, if I may, please. As you can well expect, we're going to see a savings this year on material for winter. I can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel here. I didn't want to jinx myself last month and mention something, but, obviously we've done well, and we certainly have a big stockpile of material on hand. So, we'll see a savings this year and obviously next year as well because of our stockpile that we have on hand. We haven't had to, knock on wood, haven't had to put them plows on once yet this year, which I can say in all my years, I believe that's the first time that this has ever occurred. So.
You just jinxed it.
Yeah, I know. I know, well, I'll roll the dice on that one, so. Right. That's possible. We've also had snow in April, the beginning in April as well, but if so, it doesn't last long, so it might be fun to have a little winter fun one more time, so. Another thing I'd like to bring up is we're going to be doing a lot of partying this year. There's going to be a lot of birthday parties going on here in Westmoreland County with, the county and, North Huntington. Well, I'd like to add one more name to that list who's also celebrating a birthday this year, and that's Norwin Area Meals on Wheels. This year, we're going to be 25 years in existence. We have similar to what the township's doing, we have a whole year worth of events that we're going to be planning throughout the year. One of the events that we're going to have is guest deliverers. So I'm not mentioning any names, but I gave 7 names to the chairman of the committee to send out invitations as a guest deliverer. So again, not mentioning any names, but don't be surprised if you get an invitation to deliver some meals on Meals on Wheels. I mean, it's, you know, we get no public funding. All of our funds are from fundraising and donations. There is a cost to our recipients for, you know, their meals every day. We've been able to keep those costs at a minimum because of, you know, the donations and the fundraising we do. We haven't raised our price even for many years, pre-COVID, and we all know the price of food, how it's gone up over the years, and we're still able to continue to keep the prices at the same level. And of course, it's costing us more, but that just means it's a lot more hard work for all the volunteers because, you know, we have to make up the difference in fundraising. So if you see anything this year, please support Norwin Area Meals on Wheels. And again, don't be surprised if something comes in the mail to y'all. So,
Thanks.
last but not least, Nancy. Wow. You know, I don't know what to say. I worked with you all these years. You're my friend. You're my co-worker. I mean, congratulations to you in your retirement. I wish you nothing but good health and great opportunities in your retirement. I mean, I could tell you in so many, she's so damn gullible, it's unbelievable. She actually believes me. Now, the girl who's taking her place, I mean, I'm not going to be able to pull the same pranks because she tipped her off. So, so she knows all about me, but I can't say enough. You know, I'm so happy for you and your family, and God bless you, and Lord's peace be with you. And that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Director Miller?
I would just,
Sorry, I would just say Director Halbert, excuse me.
yeah, I would just like to give a shout out to Rich. You know, throughout the last week and 2 weeks, been driving through the community, and man, great job on cleaning out the retention ponds, which is all part of the big MS4 thing. You know, great work, man, especially on the couple over by our church on Barnes Lake Road. I'm really impressed with the work you guys did, so thank you.
Well, you know what? That's part of our MS4. It's a small part of it. But, you know, Bob's told you all about, you know, MS4 in the past and what we're required to do. You know, it's we'll get a little bit of credit for the work we're doing. Every little bit helps, I guess. And you know, our guys have done a heck of a job this year. You know, even though we haven't got much snow, sometimes when you're working in, like, you know, dirt or on ground like that, the cold actually helps because it stiffens up the ground. And, you know, we haven't gotten snow, but we've gotten a lot of precipitation. It's muddy and wet. That just made our guys have, you know, they had to work harder, more labor intensity. You know, they did a great job. They worked hard this winter. As you can see, we haven't been doing a real lot, obviously, in the wintertime. You know, we can't do a real lot unless if it snows. But, you know, every opportunity we got, we were in them ponds working. You know, we're required. We have, Ryan, 40 to 50 ponds that are, and a lot more down the road that we're going to be we have to take over in the near future. I think this year we went ahead and we've cleaned up probably 20 or a little over 20 of those ponds. We did some last year. We started on it last year. We got the ones that were, I would say, the newer ones before we completely lost them, where it became too much work. So we went back this year. We're going to continue to do continuing maintenance on. So we got the ones that we did last year, and we added a few more on top of this year, we have some that are really out of control, and you can't even tell they're detention ponds. They're going to need a considerable amount of work, and you know, that's, Bob will put all that work in a work program. Well, I can't say he pretty much already has. But, I mean, there's going to be major stuff that's going to be needed done in a lot of the ponds, reprofiling, low flow, you know, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty much a big endeavor here in the near future. So, but we're going to continue to peck away at them and do
Yeah,
the
great
best we
work.
can.
I mean, everything that I've seen, man, nice work, really. All of you guys, everybody.
Yep, it's hard work for more guys.
Yeah. Find anything interesting?
Not to my knowledge.
No coins from 1776?
No,
Oh,
if they did, they didn't tell me, so they're not sharing.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Public Works? Thank you, Director Albert. Park Recreations Report, Director Miller. Anything to add tonight?
Just, I wanted to echo Rich's comments about Nancy. Nancy, I do have a few words for you. It has often been said that you spend more time with your workers than you do with your family, and I know that the commitment of time that you've provided here to the township. In my 14-plus years I've been here, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. Mary Lou, I want to tell you that you have raised a wonderful daughter. Les, I will tell you you've married a wonderful woman. Jen, I will tell you you have a wonderful mother. And Jimmy, your grandmother's a pretty cool woman as well. So I just wanted to extend congratulations to you and nothing but the best, Nancy. Congratulations.
Any questions on Park and Recreation? All right, thank you, Director Miller. Emergency Management Report, any questions to get back to Coordinator Mahinsky? All right, Police Report, Chief Rizzo.
I'll jump on the Nancy bandwagon. That would be brief. I will miss our conversations. You were always a great listener. All my family, my mom suffering through cancer, you listened, and I appreciate that. So thank you. So anyways, sorry, I get a little emotional when I talk about my mom. So, and Nancy always sat there and listened during the rough times. So. Anyways, police report, nothing to add. The good news, I did want to talk about the PCCD grant award. I want to thank the officers and the dispatchers that put a tremendous amount of time in getting the award. Lieutenant Arendis put a ton of time in putting this all together. He deserves a kudos and an accolade for his efforts. This grant is it's a blessing for the township, for the police department. We're going to be able to do a lot of good things with it. You know, from a long-term planning standpoint, from capital improvements to equipment, software infrastructure, because basically everything's software now and everything's tech. It's really going to help us out. It's going to help our dispatch center out. It's going to help our communications center out. So, yeah, this was a big award, and you know, we're waiting for the state's going to be reaching down to us with a grant manager, and we're going to start going over line item by line item and everything. But yeah, this was a nice effort, and kudos to all those officers that put a lot of time into it. And I also wanted to talk about the traffic and coming up in the spring and summer. We're gonna take a little bit of a different approach, and I know I've had conversations with all 7 of you about this because it's an issue that you all get hit with is traffic. Well, we have 400 miles of roadway, so I get it. But we're doing a little different this year. A lot of our problems are on secondary mains. I mean, we all understand that. Our heavily traveled secondary mains. There's not a lot we can do. VASCAR is very restrictive when you get into the plans and you get stop signs, and it's a little bit. The secondary mains are going to be a primary enforcement of our department for spring, summer, and fall. You're going to see a noticeable difference on how we approach it and the saturation on how we approach that. The second phase to that this year is, and we've had staff meetings. I've talked with Mike Turley and Manager Falk about this. We have meetings upcoming with PennDOT. Is we're going to be focusing on the Carpenter Lane, Maltz Lane corridor. As you're all very well aware, that is accident after accident, fatalities in that corridor, crash after crash, injury after injury. We're putting people in hospitals, countless countless times on a monthly basis. So that's going to be, we're going to put a public safety push out for that corridor. We're going to increase our traffic enforcement in that corridor. We're going to increase our awareness in that corridor. And that's going to be a primary through spring, summer, and fall. We have to do something. I've reached out to Manager Turley. We've reached out to PennDOT. I know there's a long-term PennDOT project coming through. We can't wait for that project. There's people dying in that corridor now, and we're going to do our part to try to bring awareness to that. A lot of it's left turns, speeding, careless driving, dart outs from businesses, you name it. That corridor is dangerous. And we need to get our local people to pay more attention when they're in that corridor and think about do I need to make this left turn here, or is there a safer place that I can go do it? Until we can get some help from PennDOT and we can increase some signage and maybe get some restrictions in that area. So that's our plan. I think it's a good plan, and I hopefully we can make an impact and we can cut some of those numbers down, which is what my goal is. And compounding on that, which Virginia had brought up, I'm sure you're all aware. You keep in touch with legislature. The radar bill is back on the table again. We have 31 years. I've been hearing this since I've been on the job. It'll go through the Senate. It's at the Senate right now. It's a good bill. It's a great bill. It's got restrictions put in place. There's not an argument that anyone should have to stop this bill. I have no idea why it would stop, but I think it'll go through the Senate. It'll get to the House, and hopefully this year it can get out of the House. It doesn't ever seem to get out of the House. So I think it's at the Senate now. I think it just got there, and hopefully the Senate will probably pass it unanimously. I think it went almost unanimous last time with one vote, I think, one nay. But we need this bill. If anything that you can do to help us, especially in the municipal realm of helping our citizens help control their housing plans and their secondary mains. And this bill just gives us the flexibility to do our job better, period. That's all there is to it. It's just you've got to give us the tools to do our job better. This gives us the tools to do our job better and be more reactive to our citizens. Listen, it's terrible when someone calls up and complains about a speeding and there's very little that we can do about it. When we can't go paint fast car lines in the middle of the afternoon, and we can't paint fast car lines all over the township. We have 400 miles of roadway. That's just not practical. So anything that you can do to help us would be greatly appreciated. I'm sure that like Senator Ward would, supporting the bill, and I'm sure Representative Dunbar is also. But anything will help. So I think I covered it all.
Thank you, Chief Rizzo. Any questions for the chief tonight?
Yeah, Chief, on the first part of your report on the targeted traffic enforcement, I'm not sure what the criteria are, but Route 30 out Unity and Hempfield, there's areas out there that have big signs that say targeted traffic enforcement, all fines are doubled.
Right.
And there are certain, it's not for every offense in that area, but there's certain offenses I know from working out there. Speeding was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The actual fine would be doubled on the ticket. Now, I don't know what the criteria is, but that might be a good thing to check with PennDOT. I don't know if that's what you guys are planning.
That's what we're pursuing.
Yeah, trying to get that area as a targeted enforcement area, that might be the way to go.
Yeah, and that's what we're pursuing. And actually we have a Zoom tomorrow morning, I believe at 9 o'clock with some PennDOT officials. So we're trying, can I get it for this year? I don't know. But that doesn't mean we can't step our game up and try to make a difference. So we're going to do what we can do on the local side and hopefully get some help from PennDOT, because I would like to see a big yellow sign right on Route 30 that says, enhanced penalties, target enforcement area, slow down, pay attention. I would love to see that signage up there. There's no doubt about it, and I think it would make a difference.
And I say there's at least, I know there's at least two of them going eastbound on 30 out toward Ligonier. I think before you get to Ligonier, I think there's two of those areas.
Yes. Yeah. When you, honestly, one last thing, and I know we have a lot on the agenda, but when we started looking at that area, when we started pulling the numbers and I started getting the crashes to Manager Turley, the numbers are staggering. I mean, I know you all hear the whistles and you all hear about what's going on, but when you start looking at the numbers that are happening at these intersections and these crashes, they're unbelievable, the numbers. And you forget about it, and then a month goes by and you hear a crash, and then you forget about it. But it's too many people getting injured. So we'll see what we can do.
And it's all preventable.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, you know, we just want to raise awareness in that zone. So we'll do what we can do. We're going to focus between Carpenter Lane and Maltz Lane. So that area right there, it seems to be a tremendous, Carpenter Lane in particular, a lot of crashes in the Carpenter Lane area. Anybody have anything else?
All right, thank you, Chief Rizzo.
I would add, we did look at the intersection there. I think you have the accident data for the rest of the quarter, but we looked at that intersection, and it was startling. And we were able to pin down what some of the causes are, the left turn and there's a number of issues. So like you said, we're having a Zoom tomorrow. We're looking at some short-term things. Our signal contractor is here installing equipment for sync up and doing retimings. They haven't turned them on yet because they put them all in before they turn. But they're here. There's opportunities right now to even look at some things like phasing and different things that are short-term and some enforcement. The long-term issue is going to be the redesign of 30, but this is what we're trying to do. But the accident rate, it's not safe. I mean, it's just not safe to be speeding through there at all.
Yep.
Thank you, Assistant Manager Turley. All right. Engineer report, Engineer Robinson, do you have anything to add tonight?
Yes, I do have some good news to share with you. We received a phone call from Westmoreland County this week about the American Recovery Act. There's $10 million they have that they want to distribute somehow to the municipalities in Westmoreland County. I believe there's 46. It's for infrastructure improvements, including water, sewer, and stormwater. And they want shovel-ready projects. And I wish Haywood Road and some of the other projects were ready, but the only thing I could think of that would be ready for this year, shovel-ready, would be our retrofitting of the detention ponds in Lincoln Hills. We're going to be ready probably around in June to put that out for bid. So we look to receive around $200,000 for the county. We sent them an email that particular project, and we're going to look for more, but they're going to find out a way of distributing the money as evenly as possible. And also some other good news. Had a conference call today with Westmoreland County Conservation District, and there's an opportunity for a Growing Greener grant for Indian Lake Kenda Dam. And those are going to be due by the end of June. We're looking at the bridge, and the bridge needs new abutments. The beams underneath the bridge are failing, and also the downstream channel is one of our MS4 projects. So we're trying to get a project together, and this would be a 2024 project, but the grants needs to be in this year. We're working on that. Not sure how we're going to do. We have an additional meeting with PADEP on the 28th of March. We feel pretty sure that the downstream channel we can get money for. I'm not sure about the bridge, because that's going to be pretty substantial. So we'll keep you updated with that. And Nancy, we're all going to miss you. Me too. God bless you, and really good luck in your retirement. Thank you.
Any questions for Engineer Robinson tonight?
Yeah, I do. Under the MS4, does any of the MS4 deal with streams?
Yes.
Okay.
We have, it's called the Pollution Reduction Plan. There's a number of detention facilities beside the 4 that we're working on this year. There's about $6 million of improvements between the detention facilities and stream bank stabilization.
I'm glad you brought that up, stream banks stabilization. What if we were, and I hope this is in our arena, I hope it is. We've got a lot of fallen trees over the years, trees that just lay there that could actually be used and recycled as barriers, pinned into the earth to create washaway. Why can't we use what the good Lord already gave us in the form of a fallen tree on the banks of the creeks? It's a perfect opportunity to prevent those logs from going downstream and clogging things up, and they're already fallen few guys on chainsaws, put them into place, and pin them into the earth. And before you know it, we're able to kind of address the MS4 concern that the state and the feds have for us through the MS4 program to prevent bank deterioration.
The Pennsylvania Fish Commission, they do have a detail, the check dams, that's a possibility. We can do that, and to meet some of our MS4 requirements for pollution reduction. But it might be a combination of things, and yeah, that's a good point that we could consider.
Yeah, we have a natural resource that we're not taking advantage of, and it's just fallen trees that are just laying there waiting for somebody to pick up, and let's do something with them.
I agree with you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Plan and zoning report, Director Fonzie. Any questions on the fire officials report tonight? All right, subdivision land development.
Before I get into that, I want to extend my appreciation to my office mom, Nancy. We've been working together 14 years, so we've shared a lot of laughs, a lot of meals, parties, you name it. We've shared so many things about our lives. I've shared more with you than anybody, so I'm really going to miss you. And professionally, Nancy's a go-getter. I mean, she looks for extra work. You know, she was never twiddling her thumbs. She would dive headfirst into things, and that was such a joy to watch and be a part of, just so I didn't really have to worry about her. And just how you dealt with the residents and developers, you know, always polite, having them laugh when they leave if they came in angry. So we're really going to miss you. I'm going to miss you too.
Is there any way we can revoke her retirement? I think we should vote on it.
But yeah, well-deserved, happy, healthy retirement to you. And it's a pleasure meeting all of your family too. Okay, I do have one item set for your approval tonight. It's subdivision 2 of 2023, the Hunt Merchant consolidation, requesting board action to approve this consolidation on Oscar Court.
Ryan, can you go over that since you weren't here last week?
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's 2 lots in Woodridge Estates Phase 2 on the cul-de-sac, the southernmost cul-de-sac. And there's a home on lot 218, an existing home, and the owners are purchasing the vacant lot next to it. So the lot after the consolidation is going to be 2.08 acres in size. So it's just a simple lot consolidation. They're just basically using it as a buffer.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion. All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Fonzie. Solicitors report, Solicitor Alexander.
Thank you. There are no action items on the solicitor's report this month, so I'll just take my allotted time to also wish Nancy a very happy retirement, well-earned, well-deserved. I will miss you as well.
Township Manager report, Manager Falk.
Nancy. No, it's not embarrassing. I've known you for less than a year because I've only been here for less than a year, but everybody else has been here a lot longer. But it has been an honor of working with you, and somebody's going to have to really step up to the plate with these luncheons, because I really want to have more of Bob's fried walleye. But thank you, Nancy, for building that camaraderie of putting those lunches together for all of us. It's really great. And thank you. I bet.
Come on, it's your night. You can take some gratitude, take some.
Item number 1, action to approve the February check register.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
You have in front of you the budget report dated February 2023. Are there any questions?
Is that a correction? That should say 2023?
Yes.
Thank you.
Action to sponsor Alan Harf, a member of the Circleville Volunteer Fire Department of North Huntington Township, to participate as a member of the Southwestern Pennsylvania Emergency Response Group.
Motion to approve?
Second. Rich. Rich Ray has second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to advertise for public works positions.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to approve Resolution Number 105 of 2023, providing reciprocity for Act 172 Volunteer Service Credit Program for North Huntington Township residents who serve as active volunteers with the Irwin Volunteer Fire Department.
Motion
moved.
approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to approve 2022-2023 Act 172 Volunteer Service List for North Huntington Township Volunteer Fire Departments and Rescue 8.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0.
Action to reappoint Susan Casper to the Civil Service Commission, retroactive to January 1st, 2023, and to serve a 6-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to appoint Brian Crow to the Zoning Hearing Board to serve a 5-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to accept KU Resources' proposal to perform the geotechnical investigation for the Pine Hollow Road landslide in the amount of $12,600.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, could we get a definition of what actually that is about, please? What's going on Pine Hollow in regards to the landslide?
Where the road, beyond the Y, where the road really narrows,
Is that the orange rock?
that by the Orange Rock. Yeah, we're going to do,
That is scary.
we need either fix the road or close it.
Or
But I
close it.
think we can fix it.
Yeah.
We're going to do a geotechnical investigation. We're going to drill, find competent rock, and repair it. But we need to find where the rock is, so we choose the best selection, most economical repair method. We're not going to have a 20-foot pavement. We're going to probably have maybe a 16-foot pavement, but it'll be safe.
And you know, Bob, the sad thing is, there's a lot of big vehicles that should not be going onto that road. That there is a weight limit restriction, and doggone it, these truck drivers, they're using their GPS, and they're not paying attention. The limit is this big, and their trucks are this big, weight-wise. And my God, if anybody ever has been on that road, if that road ever lets go, there is certain catastrophic failure in regards to human life if that road ever lets go.
There are some challenges, but
Amen,
we're
brother.
going to overcome them.
Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Action to provide a letter of support to Friends of Norwin Trails.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor by state and I.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Manager Falk. Any further board comments?
I do have, actually, I have two things. First one is, I'm not sure if everybody is aware, but Irwin Borough has a junior councilman program, and I would like to look into expanding that to the township without any objection from the board. I wouldn't mind heading that up and meeting with Councilman Baum to work that out.
I'll be comfortable or in favor of doing so.
Great. Secondly, I just want to wish best of luck to the Norwin Lady Knights basketball team, who are continuing their postseason at the state tournament on Friday. I believe they need 2 more to make the finals, so we got some great things going on. I believe they are at Fox Chapel, if I'm not sure. If anyone wants to go out and support them, I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Any other further board comments tonight? If not, just need a motion.
Motion to approve. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Discussion. All in favor by saying an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:10. Executive session to follow, talk about personnel matters.
Pictures. Yep.
Jimmy, stay here, baby.
Mommy, what did it say? Right there.
Please wipe down the anchor.
And what